Welcome everyone to this presentation about the Yerba Mate, the wonder plant from the jungles of South America. This miracle plant with which the ancient peoples of this continent used to prepare the infusion of friendship. Now I'm sure you all have been wondering what is this strange thing that you see people walking down the streets with? Is it even legal? All those questions and more will be answered. Yerba Mate, it's a product made from the leaves of the tree growing at the tropical jungles of South America. It has caffeine naturally and it's enriched with nutrients. It is believed to be a gift from the moon and water gods to the Guarani people, natives of South America, of course. It was common to drink it with cold or hot water, filtering the liquid with lips and teeth and eating parts of the leaves that remain. So in 1616, the governor of Buenos Aires, Hernando Arias de Saavedra, prohibited any use of the yerba mate, calling it a clear suggestion of the devil, dirty and abominable vice, and that it makes people lazy. Of course, these white guys from Europe were too uptight, and they saw the natives way more relaxed than they were, and they thought it was the yerba mate. To compete with English tea, I believe there was some kind of subtle competition between England and Spain at the time. So Spain introduced the crushed yerba mate in Europe, which became popular as Jesuit tea. So around the 1700s, the yerba mate has entered the circle of the high society of the entire European continent. It was also noted that the Brazilian army without any food survived with only yerba mate for 3 weeks at some points. And of course, Brazil later occupied the areas of the Mato Grosso and Alto Paraná, precisely the good areas to grow yerba mate, which was one of their own reasons to be involved in this war. And that's how they became the biggest producer. And then when Brazil decided to move to coffee production and abandon, in a way, mate, Argentina, that had been its main consumer, became the main producer as well. Ilex paraguayensis, or yerba mate, it's a tree that grows in the jungles. It could be 20 to 30 meters tall. So this is how the young leaves of the yerba mate look like. These are its flowers, and these are its ripe fruits, the ones that toucans seem to appreciate. Then the leaves are quickly exposed to the open flames to do the sapecado, or opening up the eyes of the leaves, break the cells that it stops oxidation. And then it is slowly, completely dried and chopped and stored, aged, depending on the quality of the yerba mate that is desired.
De sueños y amor quiero yo, quiero yo, quiero yo.
These are some of the brands that you can find at a supermarket in Argentina, for example. And this is actually the one that Uruguayans drink, that it's still produced in the south of Brazil. And they don't like the stems as much. Some people claim that it does have stems, but very, very thin, not as much. So that's how a Uruguayan mate would look like. It's purely leaves, so it's stronger. I really like it. In fact, that's what I'm drinking. I know they're going to remove my Argentinian citizenship, but it's non-removable, I've heard. It's the only one you can't give up, you know. It hasn't always been like this, that these people would have their own plantation and then sell the production to a huge company that dries it and packages and sells it under their own brand. During the old days, people would have what it used to be called the barbacoa drying, which was a system that actually the natives used to use. You can see a resemblance between barbacoa and barbecue, and you're right. So it was like a small barbecue they used to do, like what you see there, but it would take around 12 hours. They used to do it at night or during the whole day. So it was very slowly drying it. Now, the word mate itself comes from Quechua. It used to be mati, and this is the word they used to designate the gourd the natives used to drink the infusion, specifically made out of calabash. Its fruits emptied calabash where the prehistoric tableware. So it makes sense that's what they use for mate as well. So that's actually how they look like when they're dried and empty and cut. So that is the most basic form of a mate gourd. The bombillas, as I mentioned already, these are just straws that have a filter at the bottom, right? So there are many kinds, but all of them serve the same function. It's just a straw with a filter so you don't end up with the bits and pieces of the crushed leaves in your mouth. Then this is a great model. After the presentation, I'm going to be collecting signatures. I want to make that one mandatory in all ships. I think it's a great idea with the little spring there. You can let it rock as much as it wants and it won't fall. I wonder why they stopped making these. Now, the water, when you prepare coffee, you put some amount of coffee and you want to extract as much as you want from that coffee, drink it, and then trash it. But with mate, it's the opposite. You prepare one mate and you're going to be drinking maybe a liter or maybe more of water. So you don't want everything to be extracted right from the start, or it's going to be horrible, very strong and bitter, and you know, until you like it. So actually water should not be boiling, should be almost boiling but not there. So what you do is you actually heat the water until you see small bubbles coming up, and then that's it. Now, how to prepare the actual infusion? I actually checked with our current god, YouTube, and found 1,500 videos of how to prepare the mate. I checked them all. I didn't like any of them. It's like, oh no, don't do that, don't do this. So I had to go ahead and do my own video. So what you do basically is you fill the gourd with up to 2/3 or 3/4 of its capacity, but make sure the actual yerba mate stays on an angle. So actually you have a mountain on one side and a dip on the other, and what you do is you put the water on the dip. So what happens is the actual yerba mate starts floating a little bit, and then you close the straw and you put it right there on the dip. And then you refill it again there, and you pass it on to someone if you're sharing it, or drink again if it's for yourself. Once the straw is established there and the whole thing is functioning, it's not a stick shift to be moved or to be touched. It sits there and that's it. Right? So the majority of it it's floating, and then bits and pieces are sinking, and as you drink it and refill it more and more, it's going to get wet and sink, and at some point there's not going to be any more taste. It's done, and you need to trash and start all over if you want to continue drinking. Of course, the main question I get is, how does it taste? Sometimes I say it tastes like a beautiful romance during the spring in a park as well, but it doesn't seem to satisfy people as to really how it tastes. The main values of the Guarani people were sharing, reciprocity, solidarity. One needs to take some time to meet with others, listen to their silence while they drink, and to our own, sharing not only the mate, but also the moment, ideas, and dreams. People, what they do is they form a little circle, and there's one person that is in charge of preparing the mate and then refilling it and keeping track of who had the mate last and pass it on to the next one. That's the cebador. So when you go to parks in Argentina, of course Uruguay, and I'm sure Paraguay as well, and south of Brazil, you see groups of people gathering around the mate, the thermos, which is something Uruguayans introduced. Right, they're the ones who like to walk down the streets with the thermos and the mate. I have a friend from Uruguay. He told me that some people even ride bikes, regular bicycles, with the thermos and drinking mate. Well, don't try it, please. I wouldn't. Oh, you've never tried a mate? Oh, I'll show you. And of course, this is a tradition that came from the natives. Then it was passed on to the gauchos, right, the cowboys, and then to the white guys. And so lots of people in the main cities, for example, Buenos Aires, have no clue. Lots of them do, but lots of them don't. So it happens. Oh, I'll let you have one. And they put lots of mate. They actually get everything wet. The water is almost boiling. They give it to you, the first one, and it's horrible, it's bitter, it burns your tongue. You're like, you know what, mate is not for me, I'd rather have a Coca-Cola. So be careful, watch out for that. The longer the water sits there, the strongest it's going to get. So sometimes people say, remember, it's not a microphone, because it happens, you're in a group of people and you get the mate and you start, oh, when I was a kid, I remember this long story, and you start talking with the mate there. It's going to be really bitter, and everyone hates you because they're waiting for the mate as well. It aids weight loss. So I wonder what's going to happen to me. It is thermogenic. It increases the rate at which fat is burned. Antioxidant. It contains vitamins and minerals. It includes vitamin C, potassium, B1, B2, and the whole shebang. It stimulates the body and mind. It aids memory and concentration. It strengthens the heart, reduces wrinkles, aids digestion, boosts the immune system, and even when you have those moments in life, you have to make a tough decision. The government has been shut down and reopened. You have the tough guy on one side and the lady's like, what do I do? And you wonder, do they even count the votes anyway? With all those moments, it also helps. No, but seriously, it is known that some of the natives, when they didn't have a good season, they almost had no food. They could survive by eating the little food they had and drinking mate. It gives you lots of minerals and it has lots of good properties. It stimulates the central nervous system without creating a habit or addiction, which differs from caffeine. So I've seen people that were recommended by their doctors to switch from coffee to mate. And I did check, and they were not from Argentina, these doctors. All right, Uruguay, but it's not Argentina. No, they were from the US, in fact. And it also helps digestion and peristaltic movement, which is a very fancy way of saying if you got troubles going to that little room in your house, it helps. So 30 minutes after the first mate di Chantin, the main stimulant of the yerba mate comes into action. The body is assimilating the magnesium, potassium, and many minerals and vitamins, and it receives a strong dose of antioxidants, all while being hydrated. The effect is almost unnoticeable, just a sensation of well-being guided by the characteristic flavor that links the imagination with the vegetal world. A growing number of investigations prove the notable attributes of the yerba mate, calling it a botanical wonder for its multiple benefits to the human body. And if you have such nice people drinking, it has to be good, right? I mean, come on. And even Che Guevara, yeah, he used to drink a very tiny mouth mate. Maybe that's all he could get in Cuba or something. Now, that looks like a nice hotel, doesn't it? I thought he was a revolutionary. Sometimes I switch to tereré. I add some juices as well. Some people call that, when you add juice, Russian tereré, meaning you have no clue, like you're from Russia, right? And, you know, my grandparents were from Russia. Thank you very much for stopping by. I hope you had some fun, you learned something. Thank you.